Okay, so we will continue our discussion which we were having in the previous session. Um, so I hope all of you can see my screen, right? So we had looked at this code in the yesterday's session where I said that this is a API, REST API which we are trying to access, right? This is a request specification object, and I showed you the documentation for this, right? On that you say you want to call a get method, and when you say slash Hyderabad, it is equivalent to copy this URL, for example, and let me bring it here. So it is, this particular thing is slash maybe Hyderabad, or maybe let's put here Pune, for example, PUNE, right? So I will append it here, Pune. So if I hit it in the browser, can you see the output here? This is my output which is coming, right? So same way, if I put Pune here and say get body, so this is the body of the of the response that is coming, right? So so this is the response object. We know what is a request and what is a response, and from the response object we say get body, and as string we get it. So if I try to right click and run this program, right click, run as test ng test. So this is what we get as an output, and I believe we have already been able to run this program successfully, right? Kirti, yeah? Can you please acknowledge, all of you, if you were able to run this program
Yes.
yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now what we are going to do, we are going to build on top of this program. We will try more things. Why we are using Classroom? One is that I will provide my code on Bitbucket, but if I have to share the code in the Classroom, I'll copy and I'll paste it here. So that I mean, you later on also the code is going to be available for you. So can all of you, if Kirti, you have joined the Classroom, can you find the code I have put in the Classroom? Just see if it is there. Anyway, you have it already.
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to refresh your Classroom and you can find the code in the Classroom. So this we are able to do it, Pallavi, yesterday, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we will move on to the next variation of this program. So if you will see this line here, I can make a small change here. So what I can do is same code, same, everything remains same. Here I am just saying request.get. So initially, if you will see, it was this dot request and get method, and I was giving Pune here, right? In the other variation, I can say dot get. Dot get means I'm executing a get request, and this is the parameter which I am passing to that particular that particular, or appending to this particular URL, right? So if you will see, if I rerun this program, right click, run as, which is completely same as the previous one, right? So this is my output, as you can see, which is similar to what we have just done in the previous code. So what I am doing is, you create one more file, call it rest1 rest2, right? And then uh, put all this code here and try to run the code. I have already explained the code to you in the yesterday session. So I'm just I'll copy and paste this whole code. Please take it and see if you can run it successfully. I'm putting it in in the Classroom. So please take the code from the Classroom and run it.
Where have you put the code?
Who is Kirti? It's in classroom. Did you refresh? Did you refresh it? Your classroom?
Kibir. Kibir.
Did you find it?
No, actually, I could not hear you. Where you have put the code?
Classroom. Classroom.
Okay. Google.
Yeah. Palli, did you join the classroom?
Yes.
Okay, so just refresh there and you can get the code from
Yeah,
there.
yeah. I got the code.
Done, all of you?
Yes.
Pallavi and Yuti Smith are done?
Yes.
Okay, fine. So next what we are going to look at is, so if you remember yesterday we talked about some of the status code, right? So yesterday we looked at HTTP status code. So this is the link. If you want, I will share the link with you on in the classroom so that you can bookmark it for future. Right, so I have put it on the classroom. These are some of the codes, right? Now, one way to validate for your APIs which you are testing, REST API, is to verify the code which is uh, generated when you hit a particular maybe a REST API or the API which you are trying to call, right? So what we can do is, so for example, we have already seen this code, right? Let me make a copy of this and I'll make it 3 underscore code, for example. In this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit a URL. So this is how I hit a URL. Now, instead of getting the entire body of that, I'll say response dot get, or if you just type code also, can you see the get status code, Kirti? Yeah, so you can copy this status code here. I mean, double click, and then here you will say what data type does it return. Let's see that f2, it returns an int, right? int. So if int status equal to, now if everything goes fine, then the status value should be equal to 200. So I can say assert dot assert dot ass. First of all, let me import that assert equal, right? So I can say 100, sorry, assert equal 200 and the status which I have got ST80US. So if two values are equal, right, then that means the the execution of this particular URL is correct. So if I run this program, let's right click, run as test engine, let's see what happens. So you will see that it is green and it has passed. I mean, if you want, we can even display also sys out of status equal to plus status, right? So even if you go ahead and display, right click, run as test ng test, so you can see the status is actually coming out as 200, and therefore, and what is the status 200? I just showed you the status 200, it means okay. It indicates that REST API successfully carried out whatever action the client requested, right? So I'm putting this code in the classroom. Please take it from the classroom.
I cannot see the code now.
Did you refresh it?
Yeah, F5 I did.
Who cannot see? Smita,
Yes.
share your screen please quickly.
I won't be able to do it because my Zoom is not working on this.
Then how are you?
I am logged in from my phone, right?
Okay,
And
but then previous code, how did you take?
it was showing up, but then I cannot see anything now.
Just refresh it once. Actually, can others also see it?
Yes, I can see.
Yeah, I also.
First, try refreshing. Otherwise, I'll put it in Bitbucket, or I'll put it
I
on
can
the.
see the folder actually, API Automation 0 at AMIS.
So click on that. That is the project. That is the
Yeah,
classroom. Click on that classroom. Okay, let me put it on chat. WhatsApp you can access, right?
yeah.
Yeah, take the code, please. So others, both of you got it working, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So you can copy it while I will move on to the next thing. Now, continuing in the code only, okay, let me create another code program, code 2. Now, if I call an invalid city, let's say city which does not exist, no city underscore city, right? So,
Naresh, your screen is not
yeah,
visible.
okay, I will just share it. So if I call a city, sorry, not this, here I will say no underscore city. So let's try to hit this URL in the browser here. So if I hit this slash no underscore city, so do I get nothing? I'm getting, right? Yeah, I mean in terms of output plus code also will not be valid. So if I say no city, let's try to display the code and then we'll assert later. Let's once run it without a valid entry. So right click, run as test ng test. If I do this, so let's see the output. It is 400, and 400 means what status code? 400 means, let's say, right, bad request, right? So that means if I am testing for an invalid city, I should assert it for what? 400, right, Kirti?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is my expected and this is my actual. So one second, F2 if I say, so these are two arguments which are compared with each other. So right click and run as test ng. Now the test case will pass because our test case was that we have to compare a status code with 400. That is what we were expecting when we give a wrong value, right? So please try out this. I'll put it in the classroom as well as in the chat. So, so please take the code and try it out. Let me know if you're done. Okay, so I believe all of you are done. Okay. So next is, so we looked at one invalid request, right? And this is what we got as an output. So what was that? Yeah, code. I modified it to some, let's say, invalid number. If I put no city, then it will give me a wrong output, right? So that's what we just tried. Now, now see, when one another program that we will try now is all the headers. Okay, so rest 6 I'll call, or I can call it rest 5 underscore headers. So when the request comes from the client to the server, sorry, from when the request goes from the client to the server as a request, and the response which comes back, it has a header information. Remember we talked about header in the SOAP web services, right, Kirti, Pallavi? So header is that information which is like some information pertaining to the communication, right? So there is a method available in in the response. So this we have already seen, right? So in this what we can do is we can what if we want to fetch all the headers, what we'll do, response dot headers, HEADERS. So it will give all the headers. Okay, so it returns HEADERS, HEADERS headers, right? Now this is a headers is a collection. I mean it has multiple header. So how do we access them? So you can say I mean, okay, so there is a for loop like this we can use for HEADER colon headers. Okay, so this returns a header. This is a capital H here, open bracket and close bracket, right? So what will happen? This is a for loop with which we are trying to access all the headers one by one, and then you can say sys out of header dot get name of the header, okay, and plus, let's say, plus header dot get value. So this way we are accessing the name of the header and the value of the header as well. Now if I run this program, let's see what happens. So right click, run as test ng test. So you will see that these are the information which comes back from the server to the client. So server details is this one, date is this one, what is the content type. So the data is coming back as JSON, the length of the content, the connections. So can you see all these headers? Sorry, all these headers here,
Yes.
right, Smita? So we will see how to validate them in some time, but this is a way to get all the header details from the server, right? By using on the response headers and then iterating or running a for loop on the headers and getting to display the values of that, right? So I'm sharing this code with all of you. Please take the code from the classroom. I'll put it on the chat also. So I put it in the classroom and you can take it from chat as well. Done, all of you?
Yes.
Okay. So this is how we get to display all the headers. Now next thing which we will look at is, so now we have looked at a program for the header, right? So this is a program which we have executed number of times. We get the response as body. Right click, run as test engine. This we have tried already. If you will remember, some time back today. So here we get to see the response, right? And we also tried a program on header where you iterate all the headers and display them. Now next program which I mean, once you have the header, so here in this program what we had done is we wrote a loop, and for that, using that loop, we iterated the content of the header basically and displayed it as a key value pair. Next program what we can do is you can even individual, I can say 3 underscore header. So you can fetch individual header if you want to. So for that what you can do is, let me remove this code, right? And from the response you can say respons response dot get header. Can you see this? And you can pass the name of header here. And a little while back we saw what are the possible headers available. So for example, if I look at the, okay, let me, where is my console window, show you console. So these are the, no, not this one, this one. Right click, run as test ng test. So these are all the possible headers available for me. So let me copy those. Let me copy those. Fine, I'll put it here with me. So these are my headers, right? So one of the header is content type. I'll copy this and I can go and display it here. Right? What does it return to me? I'll say F2. It returns a string CONTE and content underscore type equal to, right? So this is a way to fetch a specific header, right? And then you can say assert if you want to see assert equal, and then your expect, this is your actual, right? And expected, what are you expecting? I was expecting content type to be application JSON, right? So I can put this here and let's try to run this program. Right click, run as test ng test. Yeah, so can you see that it has passed assertion, right? So can you please, I will share this code. Can you all please try asserting it with other header fields also, other 2-3 fields of header, and let me know if you can do that. I'm sharing the code on chat as well as in the classroom. Please take
I
the,
can see the classroom contents now, so it's okay even if you don't share it on chat.
okay, fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so when we run on this program and when we look at the output here, this output which we see is a JSON file, right? JSON is basically, if you want to read more on JSON, you can, let me see if I can find a good link. So JSON, it stands for JavaScript object notation, right? Then it is open standard for data interchange format, lightweight and self-describing. So it is lightweight because it only contains the data. If you will see, this is the only data, right, with key and a value. I mean, it is pretty much self-describing, right? Plus it is originated from JavaScript, easy to read, right? It is language independent, and JSON supports data structures such as arrays and objects, right? So another place where you can, so this object which we see is basically a JSON object, right? Now keeping this in mind, what we have to do is, so far we were reading this data, I mean as a string, maybe if you want to call it, right? So when when we started with first program, this output which we got at a response, we got the body, and as a string we got that, right? And when we say response body is response body, so if I again rerun this program, you will see that output was a string of Java, which is collection of characters, but actually this is a JSON object, right? So we will we need to understand what is JSON. I briefly told you what is JSON. So it is JavaScript object notation with the name of the key maybe and the corresponding value. So we need to extract data from JSON, and then we need to validate this data which we have extracted, right? Kirti, Pallavi? Yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
yeah. So we shall do this part. Let's quickly break for 10 minutes and we'll come back and resume our session. Okay, so, and we'll start discussing about JSON. And so far we have looked at get request. We'll also come back and look at post request also in the next discussion after break. Okay, so I'll start my stopwatch. Uh, Okay, yeah. So as I was saying that fetching of a path means taking that whole yeah, so that you have verified the wind speed. So fetching of the path, so you go to this one dot, right? So here if you will put wind speed, you will get your wind speed. That's what we just verified, right? Yeah, I hope that is clear. So this one was our content. What is that? Not this one. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so this was the content, and I'll
Shall
put,
I stop sharing my screen so you can share?
yeah. So as we just tried the last program, I'll just share my screen. So here by saying, so this is just an editor. I mean, before you go and put it in your code, you can come and verify it with this one, right? Remember we did XPath validator, XPather when we were looking at. So similarly,
Yes.
you can use this one to find the correct XPath. Sorry, not XPath, JSON path, right? So that was regarding how we can extract the content of the body. And one of you asked whether you have to validate the content. Yes, you have to validate the content because once you send a request, you have to see the response which is coming back, right? So that is how we do validation. Now, now we have done JSON validation. Next, what we can look at is, so far, if you will see, we have been using get request. Can you see here, Kirti? Get means getting the data,
Yes.
right? Now, what about post? So what do we do in post? In the post, so for example, a post is a mechanism where you submit data to the server. So for example, let's say this is your HTML form, you write some data and you send a post request. And post HTTP methods I already explained to you, it is on my website. Post is when you want to post some data to the what you say, server, right? So
Yes.
this, now we will try a post mechanism where till now we were fetching data. Now let's put some data to the server. So how do we do post? Let's say I will create a copy of this one, post to, I will so this is till this far we had seen uh, so we create a base URI, we create a request object. So this is similar up till here, right? Given, till given. Now after that, how do we create a post object? So we are going to post the data as JSON. Okay. Now in order to do that, first of all, what you have to do, you people have to do is, I'm going to give you one jar file. Copy that jar file in your class path and add it to the sorry, add it in your folder in maybe lib or whatever it is, and put it in your class path by saying right click, build, and add to build path, right? So let me share this file with all of you. I'll put it on the drive, take it from the drive, or I'll put it in the Google group. Okay, so please take it from the Google group. So let me attach it. Let me drag and drop this. So I'll say upload. And can you find a jar file, all of you? Can you please take it? I just uploaded. Did you find, Kirti?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, download it and put it in your class path, please. Smita, I know, sorry, I mean, I hope you know how to put it, and Pallavi, you also know how to put it in class path, right?
Yes.
Yeah, please do that quickly. Okay. Pallavi and Smita done.
Yes.
Okay. Now what we'll do is we will try to construct the form data. So I have request object. Request is what I am going to send to the what I'm going to send to the what you say server. But before we do that, I'll create JSON object. JSON object, right? JSON, or I'll call it request parameters. The parameters which I'm going to pass with request. So I'll call it request parameter equal to new of JSON object. Okay, what is JSON object? We just saw it's a combination of key value pair where value can be a single string or an array, right? So I'll say request param dot put. So I'll put a key with first name and last name as this one, for example, right? So I'll do this for one attribute. Like this I'll do for multiple attributes that I want to send, right? So I have created the parameters which I want to send. These are the data which you put in the form. But now that we are doing API testing and when we don't have UI form, so I will put this here. Now I have to put all of this in the body, right? So request dot body, I'll say equals to request param, whatever the request param is, dot to param dot to params dot to JSON string, right? So all this data which you are setting as a key value pair, I am setting it to the body. Request dot body, I'm saying the body is equivalent to this, which contains this data key value pair, right? Now after I do that, I have to post the request, right? So how do I do that? I'll say request dot post, and which URL I want to hit, slash register. So it will post, right? So I am calling this URL slash register and I'm posting this data there. Is that right? So far, Kirti? And then
Yes.
I'll say response. So the response which I get back, I'll say get status. Sorry, status TAT is RESPON response. So response object, I still need to create. So this response object is the one which comes back from here. So if I say F2 on this, what is that I am getting? Sorry, not F3, F2. F2, it gives me,
Object.
one second. So when I post request dot post, so I get the response here, right? So this response, I'll say RESPONSE, right? So I get my response, and on that I'll get the status response. What is the response I got? Dot status get status code, and let's try to display string code. Sorry, code string. It will not be string. It will be int actually, since it is a code. And then let's sys out of code. So I'll say code equal to plus code. Right? Let's try to run this program. Right click, run as test ng, and let's see what is happening. Yeah, so run one, and the code is 200, and we know from status code 200 that means everything is okay, right? So status code, what is 200? 200 means okay. Now what I can do is I want to make sure that I was expecting a 200, so I'll say assert equal, right, my the code which I got back, and 200 I'll put here. Is that right, Kirti, Smita, and
Yes.
others? So
Yes.
basically this is how we have submitted or registered a new user in the system using this API slash customer slash register.
Naresh, this slash register is basically must have been a button on the form, right?
Yes, yes. So when, so it's like Yeah, so as I told you, when you're doing API, there is no UI, right? But the UI, when it is built later on, it will be a button which will call this particular URL, and there will be a form wherein you will put this first name, last name, username, password, and all this stuff, and then you send the data right from the UI. This time we are doing it with the help of rest assured, and we are calling the underlying API, right? Make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm putting this code on the Google Classroom. Please take the code from there.
Naresh,
Yeah.
so like here we are all are adding this first name, last name which you have given us. So will it not throw an error as a duplicate or something?
If there is if there is a validation which does not allow you to enter this duplicate data, it will throw an error. But if there,
Okay.
so it is not something which is in your control. It will depend upon the implementation. So we
Okay.
will see that maybe in the next session, that if you send some invalid data, or if
Yeah.
you don't, if you say password one, for example, okay. So
Hmm.
if I
Okay.
do this, and let's try to run it. So can you see now it has failed with the error code 400? Yeah.
Yes.
So we will try all these combinations in the next session. There are
Okay.
a couple of other things you have to try out.
Okay.
Done, Kirti and Smita?
Yes.
Okay. So what we will do is we'll wind up the today's session. We have number of things we have to do in post. So we'll try in next session. I don't have enough time now in the session.
Okay.
I'll put this video on YouTube in. So yesterday I was busy, so could not upload the video, but I have already put the video on YouTube yesterday's, and today's also I'll put it after 1 hour. So please check the recording if you want to.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, everyone. I'll see you
Thank you.
next week.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so much.